Okay, guys, so we're gonna look at part one of the most dangerous game. I know we read this together, but we were a little la la landy. So I'm gonna reread it here so that if you need to watch it again, either before class tomorrow or when we're in class tomorrow and answering questions, you have a place to look where it's being read to you. Okay? So I am on page one and I'm gonna read all of part one, so page one and page two of The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. Part one. Off there to the right somewhere is a large island, said Whitney. It's rather a mystery. What island is it? Rainsford asked. The old charts call it Ship Trap Island, Whitney replied. A suggestive name, isn't it? Sailors have had a curious dread of the place. I don't know why, some superstition. I can't see it, remarked Rainsford, trying to peer through the dank tropical night that was palpable as it pressed its thick, warm blackness in upon the yacht. You've good eyes, said Whitney with a laugh. I've seen you pick off a moose moving in the brown fall bush at 400 yards. But even you can't see 4 miles or so through a moonless Caribbean night. Not 4 yards, admitted Rainsford. Ugh, it's like moist black velvet. It'll be light enough in Rio, promised Whitney. We should make it in a few days. I hope the Jaguar guns have come from Purdy's. We should have some good hunting up the Amazon. Great sport hunting. The best sport in the world, agreed Rainsford. For the hunter, amended Whitney, not for the Jaguar. Don't talk rot, Whitney, said Rainsford. You're a big game hunter, not a philosopher. Who cares how the Jaguar feels? Perhaps a Jaguar does, observed Whitney. Ah, they've no understanding. Even so, I rather think they understand one thing: fear. The fear of pain and the fear of death. Nonsense, laughed Rainsford. This hot weather is making you soft. Whitney, be a realist. The world is made up of 2 classes, the hunters and the huntees. Luckily, you and I are hunters. Do you think we've passed that island yet? I can't tell in the dark. I hope so. Why? Asked Rainsford. The place has a reputation, a bad one. Cannibals? Suggested Rainsford. Hardly. Even cannibals wouldn't live in such a God-forsaken place. But it's gotten into sailor lore somehow. Didn't you notice that the crew's nerves seemed a bit jumpy today? They were a bit strange, now that you mention it. Even Captain Nielsen. Yes, even that tough-minded old Swede who'd go up to the devil himself and ask him for a light. Those fishy blue eyes held a look I never saw there before. All I could get out of him was, this place has an evil name among seafaring men, sir. Then he said to me very gravely, don't you feel anything? As if the air about us was actually poisonous. Now you mustn't laugh when I tell you this. I did feel something like a sudden chill. There was no breeze. The sea was as flat as a plate glass window. We were drawing near the island then. What I felt was a mental chill of sorts, a sort of sudden dread. Pure imagination, said Rainsford. One superstitious sailor can taint the whole ship's company with his fear. Maybe. But sometimes I think sailors have an extra sense that tells them when they're in danger. Sometimes I think evil is a tangible thing with wavelengths, just as sound and light have. An evil place can, so to speak, broadcast vibrations of evil. Anyhow, I'm glad we're getting out of this zone. Well, I think I'll turn in now, Rainsford. I'm not sleepy, said Rainsford. I'm going to smoke another pipe up on the after deck. Good night, then, Rainsford. See you at breakfast. Right. Good night, Whitney. Now, I'm going to take a minute while I'm still on video to go over what we just read. And I'm not going to go over it as much as we went over it in class, but at least so you have a good source that you can repeat that goes over some of this. So the first thing I want to point out is the third paragraph on page 1. The old charts call it Ship Trap Island. So we're talking about the name of the place. It's called Ship Trap Island, right? Which gives us the idea that something bad probably happens there. Now, when we talk about a trap, it's usually negative. I don't trap people in a good way. So this is a place that is somewhere that bad things happen, somewhere potentially that things are trapped, and then something happens to them there. Then they talk about the night, right? And they talk about how Rainsford has very good vision, the hunter, and he sees what's going on in the bush. He can pick out a moose even against the brown background. But on this night, not even he can see in front of his face. He's talking about just how dark it is. And he talks about the night being moist and palpable. Palpable is something that you can almost feel. So talking about the air around them seems to have weight. And for something that feels like it's pressing down on me, right? That's a negative feeling. So again, they're using the setting to set up this mood, that something is happening, that something doesn't feel right. There's something uncomfortable about this place. And the blackness shows us that they can't physically see in front of them, but they also potentially can't see things that are right in front of their face in other ways. Maybe not physically. Maybe not like, oh, I can't see the island. But Rainsford also can't see that there's something wrong here, whereas Whitney can. Then they get into that conversation that hunting is the best sport in the world. And we have that conversation of for the hunter, not for the jaguar, right? And Rainsford can't even fathom caring what the jaguar feels. Rainsford's opinion is merely, it's fun, and that's what we do. The world is made up of hunters and hunties, and I'm a hunter, and good for that. And like we talked about, that means it's set up into predators and prey. But we also pointed out that jaguars are usually considered a predator. But to Rainsford and Whitney, they're prey. So these titles of predator and prey are not always locked into place, right? They can shift. Except for that Rainsford doesn't really seem to see that. Rainsford thinks that everything just is how it is. I'm on top, and that's everything, and who cares? He literally says, who cares how the jaguar feels? To which Whitney replies, well, maybe the jaguar cares how the jaguar feels. Which shows us that Whitney does have empathy. Whitney does feel for other creatures. He's still a hunter. No one's saying that he's the best dude in the universe, but he has some sort of empathy. He understands that hunting is not a two-sided game. For one person, it's a game, and for the other, it's life and death, right? Then we go back to characterization of the island. So then they start talking again about the captain and how even the captain, who is a tough-minded Swede who would ask the devil himself for a light. So this captain that really is just a tough cookie, not scared of anything, would walk right up to a devil and say, hey, light my cigarette. Even he's really not happy in this place. To which, again, Rainsford brings up, he's like, one superstitious sailor can ruin it for everyone. And he just kind of blames everything on like one person who's not strong enough. One person who's not seeing things the way everyone else is. One person who's weak. Rather than admitting that, you know, maybe things just don't always feel right. Which we talked about the other day about getting bad vibes about a place. That we know it's just kind of not good there. Now, before I go on this video, I do want to mention that other term that we had talked about a couple times and we talked about a couple years ago, juxtaposition. So Rainsford and Whitney juxtapose each other, which we said is a way that two things contrast to show the differences between them. So they have things about them that are the same and things about them that are very different to highlight certain facts. So Whitney and Rainsford are on the same trip. They're both hunters. They're around the same age. They come from the same social class. And yet, Whitney's sense of empathy highlights that Rainsford has none. And that's where their juxtaposition comes into play, right? So they're going to be these opposites of each other. And then Whitney goes to bed waiting for the morning, and Rainsford decides he's going to stay up later that night. And that is kind of where I'm going to leave off. And I will talk to you guys again soon, whether it's in person, online, or on a video. Thank you.